So, part of our effort today is to educate, bless, and create a conversation amongst business and education leaders in the room today. And so, to do that, we ask you to make sure you tag all of your social media discussions today as Future of Talent 25. And so, some of you are already some of y'all are Snapchatting already. I don't know if that's what I need you to do today, but if you're part of the conversations, make sure you tag everybody in here. Um, you're going to hear from lots of great speakers today covering a lot of great topics. And one that you're going to hear a little bit about, I want to mention because we're very excited. We're going to spend a lot of time today talking about K through 12, post-secondary education. But it's vitally important that we get it right early with early childhood, pre-K, and I know we've got some of those professionals in the room. We're proud to announce a new partnership with Gears, and you'll hear from Mindy in a little while, on a new program called The Best Place for Working Parents in Georgia. Y'all, this is a certification that recognizes the work you and your teams are doing to connect parents with the kind of quality health care, or child care, we need quality health care too, quality child care that we need to get the right start and to make sure that Georgians can get to work. So excited about that new partnership as well. But here's the fun part. Where are you guys that like data? Raise your hand. This is your favorite part of the program. The rest of you hang out with me for a minute, and we'll get to the discussion in a minute. I want to share with you kind of a future look at where we're going in Georgia from a workforce development standpoint. I shared this data with a group of education leaders a couple of weeks ago, and I think I had more Dana jaws open and question marks than I did anything else. But I think it's vitally important that we understand where the market's going so that educators can make sure people are ready for that workforce. Our work is our new strategic plan called Georgia 2050, and why are we looking 25 years out? Well, when you talk to a company like Kia, they're not making an investment for the next 5 years. Stuart, you're making an investment for the next 25, 50 years. When we're building a new road interchange in Georgia, it's going to take us 20 to 25 years to get that done. We're building a new hospital, you're looking long term. And if we're educating our workforce, it's going to take about 25 years for them to understand enough to be able to move into their modern careers. And so this is personal for those of us that are parents and grandparents, to make sure that our children have the same opportunities that we had. And to make sure that we do that, we got to understand what's going to happen. So let's start with the big picture. Georgia is going to add about 2.5 million more people to our state by 2050. Now, y'all, that number is much lower than we'd expected it to be, primarily because American birth rates have declined, and we're now at the same rate that we were in 1976. So we'll still have some in-migration to Georgia, but a lot of our focus has got to be making sure that those young men and women that are born here have the skills that they need to be successful. Here's the other thing about that 2.5 million more folks in Georgia. It's a very different looking Georgia 25 years from now. First of all, from a generational standpoint, we'll watch our friends, the baby boomers, slowly, and I ask them to very slowly move toward retirement because we don't have enough people to fill your jobs, primarily. But we're going to go from a workforce that's maybe 4 generations now to one that is maybe 5+ generations. And so we're going to talk a little bit. No one ever talks about Gen X. Where are my Gen Xers in the room? Yeah, we just want to go to work, go home, have wine, and watch Netflix. So you can just leave us out of all this other mess, right? Somebody just heard that. I'm speaking the truth. But we know that millennials will continue to be the dominant workplace in the workforce. Where are my millennials at? Even my older millennials over here who were talking about their agedness a little while ago. You'll always be young. Gen Z is now making up 30% of the workforce and will continue to do that. Gen A will be the largest generation in history. We'll talk about them in a few moments. But yeah, starting this year, we're birthing Generation Beta. And by 2050, we'll also have Generation Delta coming into our school systems. So a lot of work to be done. But here's the other thing, as these generations evolve and change, so too does what the workforce looks like. Right now, 53% of the workforce are female. That will continue to be the truth. And I know some of the guys are looking at the chart on the left, and I had a guy ask me this the other day. He goes, Chris, am I reading the chart right? Does that mean men die sooner than women? Yes, we do. But women are in charge now, and you will be in control 25 years from now. That won't change. What will change is what the makeup of the workforce and your classrooms look like. The white population of Georgia will grow by roughly 8%, African American, and black population will grow by just under 20%. But really, where the majority of our growth will come from is in that 40% other. So think Asian, Indian American, as well as mixed race. So fastest growing groups, but really dominating all of that is a 50% growth rate in the Latino Hispanic population of the state of Georgia. That means we have to educate differently, hire differently, and prepare our workforces much differently than we do today for the most diverse workforces we've ever seen. So with all those men and women in the workforce, the next question is, will we have the jobs for them? The answer is yes. We'll add 2.5 million more Georgians, but guys, we're going to add 3.1 million more jobs. If you want to work in Georgia in the next 25 years, there is a job for you. It might not be what you were trained for, which is what we got to talk about in a minute, but the jobs are here. If every Georgian that wanted to work today could find their way to employment, we'd have less than 0.5% unemployment. So there's work to be done there, and the work is in almost every single career field. Because of the retiring baby boomers, every field is going to grow almost by double digits that we know of just in the next 9 years, and then we can extrapolate that out even further. So let's talk about what those jobs of the future are the fields, and then let's talk about the skills for a few minutes. First of all, there's not a ton of change between the high demand fields that we see today in Georgia and 2030 or 2050. They will evolve a little bit. Anybody in the healthcare space or healthcare education space in the room? Thank you for what you do. I have 48,000 vacant healthcare job openings today, 62,000 by 2028, 101,000 healthcare job openings by 2032. That's a crisis. That is a crisis of care that we are rapidly moving toward. That won't change. We'll continue to need healthcare workers to take care of all us baby boomers and Gen Xers as we age. Information tech will evolve. Mainly, we'll be looking for more digital entrepreneurs. Advanced manufacturing will continue to be a driving growth. In fact, we now have more manufacturing jobs in Georgia today as a percentage of the population than we've had at any point in our long history. Engineering will give way to more robotic engineering. Skilled trades won't change. 30% of all skilled tradesmen and women in America are baby boomers and will retire by 2030. And we've spent 20 years telling every kid they need a 4-year degree. And we've lost a generation of craftsmen, artisans. They're going to fix your deck, paint, and do all of that work that we need day to day. Those are some of those jobs AI can't take, right? And we'll talk about those in just a minute. Logistics, biotech will all stay the same. You're going to move from data analytics to really machine learning and artificial intelligence, from software development to content creators, cybersecurity, and from energy into what we call clean tech, which will be one of the fastest growing sectors in Georgia. And I do want to thank our friends at J.P. Morgan Chase for helping us fund a study on career pathways for clean tech. And these numbers speak for themselves. $23 billion invested already in Georgia for clean tech, with a 23% growth over the next 25 years, with jobs starting at $107,000 a year. These are the kind of jobs you want your kids in. And the great thing about these clean tech jobs, some of them need a 4-year degree, many of them do not. So we've got to be looking at where the jobs are going as well as where they are today as we think about this next generation. But here's a critical point that we do know. No matter what that job of the future looks like, no matter what field it is, those kids need a post-secondary degree. And there's a movement online to tell kids that you're great with all a high school degree. And that might be true for a few kids. But overwhelmingly, we need them to go to technical college or the university or into the military to continue to get their training. And the data speak for themselves. If I get that 2-year degree or 4-year degree, my ability to not live in poverty and to not be unemployed grows exponentially. This is the kind of message we've got to make sure that we're getting to middle schoolers so they're starting to think. And I thought high school was enough, but do I have any college and career counselors in the room? I had one tell us, thank you for what, God bless you. God bless you for what you do every day. We were going through this with my son his junior year, and the counselor said, a parent asked a question about scholarships and college prep, and she said, you should have made that decision in middle school. I felt like the world's worst parent in that moment, but we do. We've got to get this message to these kids. And these kids, let's talk about them for a minute. Do I have any Gen Zers in the room? Thank you guys. Three down front. Appreciate you guys. You're old news, by the way. All right, you guys you're good where you are. We got a little work to do with you, but we need to focus on a K through 12 standpoint for Gen Alpha, because I believe we've got to fundamentally rethink K through 12 education to prepare these young men and women. Now, this generation will be the largest generation in history, but unfortunately, they're being born in China, India, Nigeria, Indonesia. America's barely in the top 7 for birthing this generation. In fact, Nigeria will have a larger population than America by 2040. You see the shift to the African subcontinent, particularly with this demographic. But these guys are going to be extraordinarily talented. They're going to enter college around 2030. They'll be there till 2043 or 44 or 45. They'll be in grad school or in doctorate school until 2050. And so when I start talking about 25 years, this is impacting these kids. They're at the sweet spot of this discussion. They're not going to get to the workforce maybe until 2045. They're hyper-connected, but they have no attention span because they're always online. My teachers already are seeing that, and that's going to translate into the workforce. They're very independent because we locked them away for 2 years during COVID, but they don't know how to socialize or work well in teams. They're very visual, but psychologists tell us we should be worried about their creativity or lack thereof. And then finally, they're extraordinarily technological, but because of that, just like Gen Z, we're seeing significant mental health challenges. I know our educators get that. I think it's harder for some of us that are older, but this is not something to make fun of or scoff at or say it's this generation. This is a real thing, and I hear from parents every day that are dealing psychological and mental health issues with their students, even the ones that are A-plus, quarterbacks of their football teams. These are real issues. These are issues that you're going to have to deal with in the classroom and that we've got to deal with in the workforce. But these kids are coming of age, as well as our Gen Z, at a very interesting time where the economy is being disrupted at an exponential pace, unlike anything we've ever seen. And so part of that disruption, everybody want to guess what it is artificial intelligence, AI. I'm reading a book about AI almost every week or two now, just trying to keep up. And I've found an interesting series of, I love how authors start arguing with each other and critiquing and going back and forth. Is fascinating to me. And so these 3 books, I think, have extraordinary quotes in them. So Yuval Harari is a famous author, writes all kind of books, wrote Homo Sapiens, lots of future focus, and he paints a very bleak picture. He says the 21st century will witness the creation of a massive new unworking class. Not merely unemployed, but unemployable, because they do not have the skills to be successful long term in this new environment. Now, John C. Lennox is another author, but he's also a theologian, he's English, and he says it's incumbent upon the business community right now to create jobs, and that if those jobs are not to disappear in the future, they have to be jobs that humans can do better than algorithms. A lot of the jobs that you guys do, algorithms can't do those jobs. And then Professor Stephen Spear takes it one level further and talks to educators and says education must change to focus on human future-proofing by emphasizing creativity, lateral thinking, the technologies that AI can't overcome. So what these authors are telling us, we got to change K through 12. We've also got to rethink the types of jobs that we recruit and recreate in order to make sure that people have the lives that they want and can take care of themselves. Is everybody with me? You might think about these things. This is the kind of thinking we have to be doing for the next 25 years, which means we need to rethink skill development, workforce, and talent preparedness. It's an interesting breakdown. In 2000, no matter what degree you had, there are essentially 4 skills that made you employable. And I see some people nod, and that's what it was when we started working, right? If you could manage your time, you could communicate like an adult, you could adapt, just a little bit of adaptability, and if you had basic computer skills, you could turn on and not blow up at Y2K, right? If you could do those 4 things, we would hire you. Today, I still need those same skill sets, but we need social intelligence and critical thinking and a work ethic. That's what my employers are looking for. That's what Stewart's looking for at Kia right now. But as we look at 2050, the skill sets your students, our children are going to need are so much more greater than what we're preparing them for today. And so I want to break this down a little bit easier for you and mention a couple. You want to AI-proof your students, your kids, your grandkids, and make sure they're successful? Here's the secret sauce. They need to be able to respect and work with anybody. People that don't think like them, look like them, come from where they came from. Respect, dignity, and the ability to say, we're on the same team here, because diverse teams have better impacts in every business. The data shows it. So that's a critical part. And we're in an era right now where that seems to be out of fashion. It can't be. Number two, it used to be when I went to school, they said, go get this degree or a graduate degree and you're great. Wrong. We need what our employers are looking for now, stackable skills. Kids that can have 2 majors. I talked to a student the other day that was graduating 3 majors. She's showing off, I know. She's going to have any job. She's covered, right? Multiple minors, lifelong learning. This mindset that I'm never going to stop, and I need to have as much. I need you to go broad instead of narrow. Got it? Broad, mile wide, inch deep. That's going to be successful. We need real-world experience. I bet everybody in this room had an after-school job or a summer job growing up. Today, it's only 17% of high school kids have an after-school job and only 30% work in the summer. In the Midwest, they're requiring every single student that graduates from high school to have real-world experience. University of Georgia is now telling their students, you don't get your diploma until you show us that you've had internships, apprenticeships, some type of real-world experience. That's the game changer that we need to move toward. Adaptability and work ethic, yes, that's a thing. It will continue to be a thing as the economy disrupts and changes. We need these young men and women to be able to critical think and problem solve beyond what AI can critical think and problem solve for them. And we really need creativity back in the classroom. That's the difference maker, right? If you can create the next great technology piece, you're not going to lose that job. I love an article I read said they called these young men and women the moderate misfits, right? And I thought back about my son. He was drum major of his high school marching band, and all of his buddies that hung out, they were definitely moderate misfits, right? But then I look and see that our school systems are cutting this performing arts, they're cutting band, they're cutting those programs. These are the kids that are going to run companies and create the next great thing. We need to make sure we've got the creativity there for them. So what do we do about it? Well, we have these conversations. We engage with our partners at GPEE. And here's some other things that you can do this morning. You can engage with our clean tech workforce. You can see Daniela Perry. Daniela, wave at everybody. Daniela runs our Chamber Foundation. Our best place for working parents, you can click on that QR code to sign up for your company to be part of early learning and address those issues. We are hosting at the Georgia Chamber the National Civics Bee. We believe we need to teach this next generation how to compromise, work together, and respect each other. If you care about that, we'd love to have you as a partner. Flex is another program that we have at the Georgia Chamber through our affiliate. This is teaching high school kids entrepreneurial skills, Shark Tank style, pairing them with local mentors, creating their own companies, winning prizes, and the statewide winner gets a year of working with our friends at Georgia Grown to start their companies. I met with a school last week. They're so taken with this Flex program, they're opening their own makerspace for high school students in their downtown community to get those kids those skill sets. That's the community taking charge of what they do. And then finally, for those of you in the skilled trades, partnering with our friends at Be Pro, Be Proud, which is going into elementary and middle schools to teach kids the skilled trades and to gamify and to get them interested in that next generation of jobs. So, there's a lot of work for us to do. There's a lot of conversations for us to have today. If you care about this, I'd encourage you to talk to Danielle and our team to engage with us, or Dana, Dr. Rickman and her team. And if you're interested, as I know some of you took these pictures, I think you can get, Anna, this slide deck on our website somewhere, I'm sure. But I'd also encourage you to download our Economic Red Book. We published this in January. All of this data, and much of it broken down by counties. So you can see how your county compares, get that up to the date data. This is an electronic copy. If you want a hard copy, just see a member of our team. So, a lot to cover. We appreciate you being with us. I hope you ask good questions. I hope you engage with each other, network with each other. We've got a lot to cover today. Thanks for being with us. God bless. Let's get on with the program. Thank y'all.